I thought to start this video off, it would be nice if we just took a moment to listen to the sounds of nature going on. It is a wonderful day for that sort of thing, you know. I mean, we're in the middle of Pride Month. Today is Juneteenth, Father's Day weekend. We're up at Keuka Lake. For the life of me, I couldn't have picked a better conclusion scene for this video. So with that said, my low is I actually felt kind of bad for my father because he was worried about me and because I really thought I was going to be up here by myself last night. And he shows up at 11 o'clock at night. And I mean, I know he's worried about me, and that's great and all. But he actually has to go do something he's already left to go do it. You had to get up early and do it. Why would you do that to yourself? I mean, don't get me wrong. It's great that I got to be with my father for a little bit. We actually watched a little bit of Rick and Morty before we went to bed, so that was cool. My high, pretty much as you would expect. I went to Rita's, and as much as I kind of would have rather been up here by myself, it was still nice to see my dad. I'm not gonna say. I mean, it is Father's Day weekend. I'll definitely come some slack for this. And my act of kindness was, as soon as I got up this morning, shortly after he left, I blew off my parents' back and front patios. And I also, because here's the thing, I mentioned last week how I had to remove the furniture off the front patio so my father could stain the deck. And when I get up here, all the furniture is still off, so I obviously put the furniture back on. So I had a pretty productive morning so far. And I think with nice gentle breeze blowing, clouds, I mean, yeah, there's clouds in the sky, but I like this sort of atmosphere for sure. Hold on, there's a little bug that was crawling around, so I got rid of it. So, don't worry, I didn't smush it. I flicked it away. Seriously, if I kill the bug on camera, would that technically make this a snuff film? I don't know. I shouldn't say stuff like that. Not on a day like this. This weekend actually holds some pretty big significance. I mean, yes, it's also, as I said before, we're in the middle of Pride Month. It's Juneteenth today as well, so happy Juneteenth, everyone. Hope you take the time to think about and celebrate this holiday. It is a federal holiday, It is Father's Day weekend, which, I'm totally prepared to get ready for Father's Day myself. It's a weekend up at Keuka Lake. That's always good. But if I recall correctly, it was this weekend, not 13 years ago, when I had graduated from Horseheads. But before I talk about, because here's the thing. This is the final class in session video. And from the very beginning, I always told myself that the last one of these I would ever do would be perspectives and drugs. And I'm going to be talking about that. But you know what? It was around this time, again, 13 years ago, I graduated from Horseheads. So you know what? You're going to get two big class-related events for the price of one. Can't beat that with a wooden stick. Anyway, where do we even start? Well, how about perspectives and drugs? Now, I've talked about perspectives and drugs before, but never to this sort of, length. Although I will admit, looking back on it, I kind of wish I saved Choir for last, just because that's probably my favorite one I've done. Although, with any luck, this will probably surpass it. Anyway, perspectives and drugs was essentially the very first college-level class I ever took at Horseheads. Oh yeah, I mean, if you had enough credits and you wanted to take college-level courses, you could, sure. Now, I want to make one thing clear. This was not an AP course or advanced placement, not at all. I never took any AP classes. I mean, I think I guess I could probably talk a little bit about that. There was only like, I think 2 AP classes you could take at Horseheads. Like, I think it was like, I want to say they were like history and literature or something. And they were only taught by like 2 guys, and they were referred to as the quote unquote AP gods. Like, I know like nothing about, I never taken an AP course, but, and you're like, but Nick, you just said that Perspectives and Drugs was a college level course. It technically was for community college. So it was really called ACE, Perspectives and Drugs. ACE obviously meaning like college, like for community college. Because basically, I live in upstate New York, specifically around the Horseheads, Corning, Big Flats, Elmira area. And Corning Community College is like the big community college in my area. So basically, Perspectives and Drugs is the kind of level class you would take if you were at Corning Community College. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to refer to the class as Perspectives and Drugs because that is what the class is called, Perspectives and Drugs. So no ACE, no AP, or any of that stuff. So, what do we talk about? Well, as you can imagine, Perspectives and Drugs was a health class, technically, in which we talked about, the effects of drugs, what they can do to your body, sort of, and, perspectives, obviously, like what drugs can do to you from your own perspective, or what drugs can do from your family's perspective, or not even drugs, perhaps maybe something along the lines of, sex, or, be it, you're using protection or not. It really was a very deep and very, very good course. And there are 2 things I will always take away from that class. Well, actually, you know what? I can share a story too, because, this is the final class in session video. I gotta talk a little bit more about that. Anyway. When we took Perspectives and Drugs, we had like, sort of life map type things where, we would talk about, what you want to do with your life, the kind of, person you want to become, person you want to be with for the rest of your life, stuff like that. We saw a couple movies. There was actually one movie I believe we saw called She's Too Young, which sort of, goes into the whole, unprotected sex thing. This was actually a very powerful class. I'll admit this right here and now on camera, but sex really was never a problem for me. And that's because I've never had relations. Really. 31 years old. No relations whatsoever. So, yes, I still have my V card. And I'll give you a minute to laugh at that, but before you really go laughing your head off, consider this. I'm 31 years old. I don't have any STDs, or STIs, because they function more like infections than actual diseases. I'm no one's baby daddy, and the barrel of a shotgun has never been brought to my head. I like to think I'm doing pretty well for myself. That's why, don't get me wrong, yeah, I want it, sure, but it'll come when it comes. I'm in no hurry. You don't need stuff like sex or drugs to make, if you want to use them to make you feel better, go right ahead. That's on you, not me. All I know is I don't need that sort of thing in my life to know that I can be happy. And that's one of the big takeaways from this class. Although, I actually do have one story I gotta say. And get ready to laugh at this. One of the main components of our overall grade were vocabulary quizzes, where, we talked about drugs and sorts of other things and, have vocabulary quizzes on them, right? Here's the thing. I barely studied for them, at all. Like, the only studying I ever did was, like, I would get to Horseheads High School super early in the morning, open up the chapter, and try and cram, like, all the vocabulary words, right? I never not got 100 on those quizzes. I mean, they were all matching quizzes with, like, a bonus question. So, yeah, I never not got 100. I actually did really well in that class overall. But one quiz, though, I gotta say. Now, when I took these vocabulary quizzes, I made sure I was careful. I read the answer, looked at all the possible questions, read the question, looked at all the possible answers, and I obviously picked the right one, the best one, and moved on to the next. There was one particular quiz where we had a significantly large sum of vocabulary words. I think, we had maybe 16 questions, all matching. And as I said before, I read the question, answered it, and went on the next one, and so on and so forth. After I was done, being the good student that I was, I looked at all the answers again. And then I was so incredibly dumbfounded by what I wound up seeing, I looked them all again. And my jaw practically dropped. Because literally the answer key to this particular vocabulary quiz was the answer number 1 is A. The answer number 2 is B. The answer number 3 is C. The answer number 4 is D. So on and so forth. It was literally A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Well, with one exception though. And this is where being a good student and carefully reading your questions comes in handy. Okay? And that is, I believe the letters, either it was J or K or L that were switched around. But after the switcheroo, it went immediately back to MNOPQ, MNOPQR, and again, so on and so forth. So, to this day, I'm convinced the teacher thought, because obviously the teacher makes these quizzes, so she would know what's going on. She thought someone would get privy as they went on with the quiz, figuring out, again, the answer number 1 is A, the answer number 2 is B, etc., etc. Knowing that, they would answer, all the questions without reading them. And I think I don't know the exact results of this. All I know is that I did what I was supposed to do, and I got my 100. So, yeah, that is quite possibly. And here's the thing, I remember taking a particularly good length of time doing this vocab quiz. And the answers wound up being, again, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So, take that what you will. But I got my 100, so I'm aces. No pun intended. So, I took 2 things away from perspectives and drugs. The first was actually what I just alluded to. The person does not need sex or drugs to be happy. Or as my teacher in that class put as, to get a natural high. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I have a natural high right now just talking to you guys on camera. That's how easy it is. And getting a natural high can be other things too, it's going to be a hot day today on Keuka Lake. Maybe you want to jump in the water. Or just being up here at Keuka Lake at all. That could be a natural high too. Or maybe getting yourself, a nice little treat yourself after a long day at work. Maybe, I don't know, you like getting a burger from McDonald's. That works. And yeah, if you really want to be technical, a natural high can also come in the form of masturbation. Seriously, some of these are legit medical terminology, so I really have no problem saying these words on camera. So, in actuality, you don't need much in life to be happy. You can just be you and do what you do best. And I think that really is, and don't get me wrong, of course there are some things I like that I do need to feel better. If I'm having a rough day, Sure, getting something like Rita's, that's great. I definitely could use that sort of thing if I'm feeling down. But for the most part, as long as you just maintain a positive attitude and keep hope, you're going to be fine. Trust me, I know. As someone who's contemplated suicide, I'm right there with you. Just maintain hope. Things can get better and they can be good in life. I know this because without even realizing I'd make it this far in my life, I wound up graduating from both Horseheads and Trinity-Pawling, which I'm going to talk about right now. So, graduation from Horseheads, there was always a project graduation where, everyone stays up all night and plays games and stuff like that. That was fun, to be sure. We got a hypnotist and everything and, stuff like that. That was great. We spent some time at Corning Community College. It was a lot of fun. It was great, right? But you couldn't get that without getting through graduation first, which my graduating class from Horseheads, and keep in mind I may need to do some math here, but it was almost 5 times the size of my graduating class in Trinity-Pawling. I think my graduating class at Horseheads was 432, 433, and Trinity-Pawling was 89. So, again, you're talking 4, almost 5 times that amount. That's a pretty big number when you think about it. And and it's funny, graduation from Horseheads took place at First Arena. It's where, at the time, the Elmira Jackals, now called the Elmira Enforcers, have their hockey games. So this is a pretty big event. In fact, there was even I think some snack bars were open for anyone who wanted some during the ceremony. I mean, I couldn't have any snacks. I had to sit in the crowd full of my graduating class. I mean, by all accounts, this was the last time I'd see anyone from my graduating class would be all together. I mean, sadly, some people may pass on, or some people are just so busy with life they never come back to Horseheads ever again. That happens. It's sad, but that's a part of life. So, graduating from Horseheads and then Trinity-Pawling brings up a scenario where it is quite possible that some of these people I will never see again. And because it's graduation, you get so wrapped up in the fact that, you're graduating from high school. This is awesome. This is going to be great. You don't even consider, the real finality of it all until it's long over. And don't get me wrong. I was right there with everyone else. Man, I really was excited to graduate. But looking back, I kind of wish maybe I didn't take that particular time so much for granted. But it is what it is. All I can do is reminisce and hopefully grow fond of everything that's happened. I mean, I've said this before many times. My time at Horseheads was completely terrible. It got to the point where I really did contemplate suicide. And at Trinity-Pawling, I was going to damn well do it. And then came the tragic death of Andrew Einstein, and you all know the story from there. So, when I was at Trinity-Pawling, and this is where perspectives and drugs really came in handy, the first concept of, being, hopeful and trying to maintain a natural high, that really helped me get through some things. It really did. And the other thing actually involves graduation from Trinity-Pawling. See, at the end of every class of Perspectives and Drugs, the teacher who, I don't think I've ever really said who my favorite teacher was. I never name names so as not to embarrass, offend anyone, or potentially make someone lose their job. So, obviously, I can't really say her name, but without question, she was one of the nicest teachers I ever had. She still works at Horseheads. In fact, I've actually ran into her a couple of times. Yeah, over the years. Just passing by, saying, hi, how you doing, stuff like that. But make no mistake, what she did at the very end of every Perspectives in Drugs class is something that's going to stick with me for the rest of my life. In fact, it's stuck to these videos since day 400. As you may possibly know, on day 400, that was the very first State of My Being address. And it was on that day I ended the video with saying, make good choices. That teacher in Perspectives in Drugs is where I got that from. And I've been using it since day 400, and I'm going to be using it from that. And I'll always use it, and I'll always stick with it, no matter what. In fact, I used it at Trinity-Pawling. See, believe it or not, it was possible where if you got caught doing anything stupid like drinking or doing drugs on the night before graduating from Trinity-Pawling, I mean, you were on campus. If you got caught, you didn't graduate. Now, they didn't necessarily hammer this in, but they did bring it up enough a couple of times where I'm thinking, when it gets to the night before graduation, what am I going to do? Where am I going to be? Who's going to be around me? I just happen to be lucky enough to be surrounded by some very good people. I'm friends with pretty much all of them on Facebook. I'll never forget what I did that night either. One of my friends from choir who was in Johnson dormitory and had it was a single that was the size of a double. Literally I think it may have been a contender for the best dorm room on campus, but that's up for debate, I suppose. And literally a bunch of us got together and we played at the time Mortal Kombat versus DC, and then we started watching the Count of Monte Cristo. Eventually I'm sitting, because we're all watching TV, I'm sitting on the guy's bed, my back against the wall. I'm having trouble staying awake until someone taps me in a place that shouldn't be mentioned, and that woke me up, and I'm thinking, you know what, I think I'm going to turn in. So that was it. Nothing bad happened. I didn't do anything wrong. Without even realizing it, I made a good choice. Now, I want to make one thing clear. No one did not, everyone graduated from my graduating class at Trinity-Pawling. No one got caught doing anything bad or wrong or anything. So that's good. But without realizing it, that night, I made a good choice. I was able to graduate because I didn't do anything stupid. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. I didn't do drugs or anything. The story I just told you is exactly what happened. After I left, I went back to my dormitory in which two of the dorm parents were sitting outside watching, making sure everything was going fine. I wished them good night and went to bed, woke up the next day, put on my blues and grays, and got ready for graduation. Simple as that. And I will admit, Trinity-Pawling actually had a really great tradition where after you graduated and you got your diploma, since no one can take your diploma away from you, you're allowed to smoke a cigar on campus. I didn't partake in that, but I could have if I wanted to. So, yeah. I mean, it's so weird. Graduation from Trinity-Pawling was the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. And so after I graduated from Trinity-Pawling, we came right up here. Hopefully made sure everything I had was packed and ready to go, and we came right up to Keuka Lake. So yes, it's sort of fitting I'm talking about graduating from Trinity-Pawling up here too. And it's very fitting that the final class and session video is up at Keuka Lake. I can't think of a better scene, the best kind of weather there is, for the most part. I mean, yeah, there's clouds, but that's nothing. And when I think about it, with my graduating class at Trinity-Pawling, and my graduating class at Horseheads. Those two scenarios were the final time I would be with everyone in both of those classes. So in a way, it really is this video really is a finale of sorts. I mean, it's so weird. It feels like it was just yesterday, it was October, and I'm thinking like, man, normally I'm up at Keuka Lake every weekend. What am I going to do? And so I started these class and session videos. It actually kind of makes sense too, because I wound up going to Gettysburg College. So, you know, it makes sense I kind of wear this shirt too. Yeah. And now that this was the final one, it's just so bizarre. I mean, I made sure I went out with I mean, you got both Perspectives and Drugs and when I graduated from both Horseheads and Trinity-Pawling all in one video. You know, it's kind of hard to top anything like this. I mean, if I did it all over again, I would wish that maybe I saved choir for second to last. But I'm happy with what I did. It's going to seem so strange because, let's be honest, I'm only up here until like the first weekend. I'm only up here every weekend until like the first weekend in October. So, and yeah, some Saturdays I'll be in my apartment for sure, you know, because I have some business to take care of. But for the most part, you're going to get at least one Keuka Lake video every weekend. So, when summer's over and we're back in October, what am I going to do? Well, I don't know. But I have a pretty good while to think about that, don't I? And it's been a pretty good while since I've even been to Horseheads or Trinity-Pawling. I mean, yeah, I was at Trinity-Pawling for my 10-year reunion back in 2019. And it's been almost 2 years since then. But the world has changed so much. You know, people are starting to get more politically correct. You know, streaming services are becoming like the thing for viewing anything you like. You know, we're in the middle of a pandemic, for crying out loud. So, where could I possibly go from here? And the answer is, I don't know. I can't predict the future. I can't possibly say, for the life of me, you know, what is next on the horizon. I do know that, you know, since graduating from Horseheads would have been around this time of year, I'd be enjoying my summer right now. So I think for now, I think that will be the plan every weekend. I'm just going to be up here, enjoying life, being in front of the camera, talking to you guys, and starting the video with a good morning, happy whatever day of the week it is. Today is Saturday, so happy Saturday, everyone. I mean, I started the video with happy Juneteenth, so I'll let Juneteenth take the spotlight for this one. And actually, it's weird. Juneteenth didn't really become relevant for me until like last year when the whole, you know, Black Lives Matter movement was going on, which is another way the world really changed for the better, I think. And I do believe that Juneteenth was when the 19th Amendment was ratified, I think. I think that's what it was. I feel like, again, it's been a while since I looked this up, so if I got that wrong, I'm terribly sorry. But, again, for the most part, you know, it's a big holiday. I wish you all a happy holiday during the summer. You know, I hope to be up here for a good long time until at least the first weekend in October, which is pretty much what wound up happening last time. So, yeah, I think I have a pretty good plan going forward. So, my plan for today, nothing much really. Just enjoy being up here, listening to the sounds of nature, relaxing. To be perfectly honest, I'm sitting on top of like a lounge chair. So really I could just do this. Hold on. I'm literally leaning on the back of a lounge chair right now. That's why I'm here. But I'm not gonna end the video with that. I wanna do something nice. This is the final class in session video. Gotta do something big. Well, I think there's power in subtlety. And just ending this with the sounds of nature, hearing some birds chirping, some boats driving by, the sounds of waves, with a bubble here and there apparently. I think I'm doing pretty good. So, I'll just stop the video right here. And, I actually got a low battery sign, sorry. And, that actually scared me. I really thought the video was going to stop after I did so much. So, for the final class in session video, do whatever you want. If you want to like the video, sure, give it a thumbs up. Sure. You want a favorite or subscribe? Go right ahead. But no matter what type of video I do from now on, whether it's just me talking about my day, or maybe if I ever go back to doing class and session videos, maybe I'd probably have to wait a while before I do it. Or maybe I could do it all over again. Maybe talk about stuff I didn't talk about last time. I've got plenty of options. But that's the best part of life too. As bittersweet as life can be, you always have the options to make it better. You have the option to make good choices. And you certainly have the option to remain very humble. That you're able to do whatever it is you want to do. Whether it's me making a video, or whether or not you want to do your own thing, that's fine. You have the option to remain hopeful that you have a wonderful day, or if you're having a bad day, you can hope that things can get better. And remember, in your life, you always have people in your life you can talk to, whether you realize it or not. I know I'll always most certainly be here to listen to whatever you have to say. And just like my brothers had my back on December 14th, 2008, I will always have your back if you ever need it. So, take care, everyone. And in the words of my Perspectives in Drugs teacher, make good choices. Happy Juneteenth, everyone.